Good evening, everyone. This is RJ live in effect again with another episode of the Walker Roundtable. I'm RJ. Let's go around and introduce our folks on the round table. Who wants to
Daddy,
start?
why don't you go ahead?
Always. You got to start at the head of the table. I'm Jeff Walker Sr., Papa J.
And I'm Jeffrey Jr., Bobby.
And I am Justin, JP.
Oh, JP. Okay. Well, Papa J, also known as Scoosh, JP, Justin, also known as Bear, and Bobby, also known as Book. So,
What are you known as?
Yeah, man.
Domino.
Domino.
hey, just
Don't
call
forget that one.
just call me Prince Akeem or Prince Dom.
Long time ago.
Call me Prince Akeem,
Oh,
son.
yeah.
Um, so J Peasy,
Mm.
what is the topic for this evening that we're going to be discussing as a panel tonight on the round table, my brother?
So the topic is, what do you think would happen if Black Americans actually got reparations? And what would you do with the money once you got it?
Well, let me ask a question. What?
Hmm.
What? And I want you to set it because you're in charge of our topics, right? So,
Hmm.
what would the amount be if you were in charge of that? God somehow gave you the ability to give reparations to every black household. It would have to be an impactful amount, a generational amount. How much would you give? And there's no amount.
Well, well, that's kind of what I wanted to like debate.
Okay.
Like, what do you think the form of the reparation should take? Do you think it should be in the form of college scholarships? Do you think it should be in the form of loan forgiveness or debt forgiveness? Do you think it should be in the form of giving Black people land ownership or property? Or do you think it should be some type of like cash payment? So, I mean, I want to discuss all of that. But if I had to say, um, just a ballpark round figure, let's just say that every Black American um, got $200,000. Let's say that was the amount that the government decided on and said every Black American 18 and older, tomorrow your reparations check in the mail would be $200,000. What would you do with that money? And what do you think Black people as a society would do with that money? Do you think we would squander it, or do you think we have the knowledge and the wherewithal to use it and to build generational wealth in America? Or do you think Black people would even stay in America if they got that money?
That's a good question right there. I like that. That last part. That's a nice little curveball. I know. Yeah. Yeah. Daddy.
Well,
Hey.
I think give me my 40 acres and a mule right now.
Mhm.
'Cause if I got some land, depending on where it's at, I don't know what it'd be worth, but I look at land as probably one of the best investments that you could probably make in this country. So depending upon where you're at right now, I mean, if you're in California like Bobby, Houston like we are, prime property could be generational wealth that you can hand down. But I tell you, a lot of that money, if we were to get some of that money, this would probably be one of the best economies on the planet. Because putting that kind of money into folks' hands, no doubt that they would be spending that where they're at, making ends meet, putting money back into the economy. Some would invest it, some would squander it, no doubt. But we would probably have one of the best economies on the planet if that were to happen. But I think an investment in land, which can only appreciate, would probably be one of the best investments that I could ever make. Home ownership, like we have right now, it's one of the best investments. It will never depreciate. It's always going to appreciate, and it's something that you can hand down. So, looking at that dollar amount, if it's $200,000 or any dollar amount, I think the economy would take a nice hit for the better. Some folks would invest, some folks would do other things. But that's my take. Real estate, land, investment.
Okay. Well,
Like
y'all want me to go first? I'll go
Yeah,
first.
right.
I got a I got a whole so let me unpack this, right? So I think me personally, it's been how many years since since Juneteenth in 1865? It's been a is it how many years, Justin? You're the math calculator. But I mean,
over 100 years.
so it's been a long time since we've been free, right? And then we were in bondage, our people were in bondage for hundreds of years. Right. So I look at all of these things that happen and look at us today. We're at the forefront of culture. We're at the forefront of entertainment. We're at the forefront of music. Those are three industries. Finance is not one of them, right? We're leading in a lot of the different trades, but we also lead in a skill called management and production that I think a lot of people don't look at. When you look at operationally how companies are run, they use our minds and our genius to run their companies. That's why even when they started to bring us over here from the slave trade, they wanted us to work the land because they knew we were geniuses that way, right? So there's a couple of things that go through my mind as we look at the different generations. When you do post slavery reconstruction, it was a level playing field. Everything was fair, and you started seeing African Americans and everyone that's in the diaspora that was here get the 40 acres of the mule. That's how places like Rosewood, Black Wall Street, Third Ward Houston, Fifth Ward Houston, even places in Old Milwaukee, how they got started is from that, right? They pulled those monies together. Even Harlem, right? So but what ended up happening is every time there was a level playing field, there was a systematic approach that was from the powers that be on all different sides to burn it down and just ruin black wealth, strip them, right? So if it's a leveling that happens, even look at the stuff that's happened with the affirmative action. If it's too many of the folks in the diaspora that's starting to level the playing field, even throughout the hundreds of years of oppression that we've been here, they try to burn it down, right? So whether it's physically by force, murder, flames, or it's through the thing that we it's through the different systems, the courts, the runnings of companies, the stealing of ideas and patents, right? So I think, and I think it's this big misconception because it's been a tool of theirs, and I'm thinking about just the oppression, the apparatus of oppression that our people face to allow us to do things like to be successful in things that don't hit the masses, right? So people that are blessed with talent like music and sports, you can excel at those, but we'll actually run the apparatus of it. So there's not too many people that you're going to see like Michael Jordan or Michael Jackson, right? There's a small select group of people that can do that. But stuff like the sciences and finance, not so much, right? So even like when the slaves were looking, they didn't want them to read because they didn't want them to be literate. And then when they became literate and they started excelling in science and invention and George Washington Carver, Booker T. Washington, they wanted to really make sure that they didn't have those educational principles and those curriculum in there that focused on finance and engineering and science and creativity, things that I'm studying that we all study, right? And
Yeah,
stuff
and
it's been hard for us to really excel. Like it's so even with my success, the reason that I've been successful is because it's been because God in the seeking of knowledge and wisdom in those specific areas of understanding how to one generate capital, invest capital, and manage finances generationally, and through whether it's a career, the core competencies, and being able to build systems around that. So I think for me it's a huge misconception though, because even amidst the oppression and the placing of our people in ghettos and the redlining and the lack of small business loans and all of these different things, we've still survived, right? Food deserts and liquor stores and gun stores and all of the generational school to prison pipeline, all of we still survive, right? We've made something out of nothing. And I think it's this huge, big misconception that even though that being so, we haven't figured out how to do math or something for whatever reason. But I think black people, like when you look at African people, not just black people, like black Americans, but African people, we created arithmetic. We created algebra. They were doing algebra and chemet thousands of years. Even if you look at people that are on the corner or folks that are do a lot of this stuff comes natural. Justin is one of the most talented operationally. Justin is one of the most talented people. He's a calculator. I can give him any number. Do, 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 do. Me, on the other hand, I'm very talented operational wise. I can do like all sorts of different things and it makes sense. And Bobby remembers the formulas from, I remember calling him one time and he was able to just like recite formulas to me. And that's in mass. So for me, I think that, this idea of, oh, our people will squander, black people will squander the money and somehow use it and waste it. I think that it'll be some waste, but I think in mass, if we got direct injections of cash, every household, every it would be a playing field that would level. People would go back to Africa.
Hmm.
People would build channels that not only go to Africa, but create commerce from Africa back to the United States and moats around that. And you would have this you would have kind of like ubiquitous utopia of black people that would start connecting and you would see a black Wall Street like no other, from coast to coast, state to state, city to city, country to country, family to family. And I think it would be a good thing, but it would have to be, in my opinion, not this whole idea of, like, let's just do it in the form of a car, give them all $200,000 bracelets or something. No, give me a refund check from the IRS for 200 grand. I want it to hit my bank account and I want it to hit every black household's bank account and watch what we'll do with that money. Without, and I think our people will be successful. So I'm gonna stop preaching.
All right. You're not gonna buy a Cadillac, man.
Oh, I'm probably gonna buy a Cadillac. Like how good with the cream leather on
Oh
the inside.
no.
That's funny. Like
No.
Yeah.
in the movie Barbershop, they were talking about reparations, and Cedric the Entertainer was like, he said, he said, what do you think reparations gonna do? That's just gonna make Cadillac #1 car company in the country.
Boy, hey, look.
Oh yes.
Hey, me and Uncle Freddie D, we had a big wide bodies, boy. You know it. Me and me.
Hey, you got to see the new El Dorado for 2026.
Oh, it's out.
It's out.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
$126,000. So that $200,000 reparation would kind of get eaten up.
Well, you got to finance it and leverage the banks for that. You don't want to just pay the one cash payment. You want to get a nice low interest rate loan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like one thing that I want to touch on is like as a teacher, something that I like in my years of teaching is something that, I had to realize like as an adult, as I learned economics and I learned things like trading and the stock market and things like that and investing, this stuff is not taught in school or not on the foundational level in terms of like a K through 12 curriculum. This stuff is only introduced to kids when they get to college if they decide to study economics. A lot of people go into their adulthood blind about money and don't know things how to like do their taxes or how to invest money properly or how to do anything with money that would appreciate what they have. Because I think a lot of people think that, once I get a check, I'm gonna just save it and sit on it when they don't realize that that money is being wasted in a bank account when you can put it in a brokerage account and let it appreciate and compound. But that's one thing where I feel like if we got reparations today, um, I feel like a lot of black people are still not aware of the education that is out there in terms of how to trade and um, how to utilize these tools successfully in order to compound their money. Because I feel like it's very, very few. Like I don't really see a lot of black like finance gurus like teaching black people how to invest money. I see a few, but not in terms of like the masses. So if we actually got that money, I would be scared that black people would spend it and the money would just would just freely just flow back into the white society's hands. And so a part of me feels like, okay, should reparations come in different forms? Should it come, in terms of maybe we should have a choice in terms of like how we should receive it? Should we receive it in terms of a lump sum cash payment? Should we receive it in terms of a stipend that's, divided up year after year? Should we receive it in terms of debt forgiveness if you have student loans? Like, because to me, Joe Biden's plan of trying to forgive student loans is probably the closest thing we would have gotten to reparations in this country if it ever would have happened. But I feel like this type of thing doesn't come across a lot of black people's minds in terms of like how they should properly manage money. Um, because I feel like this generation, some people are hip to it, but I feel like there's a good majority who aren't. And, which is why, like, as a teacher, I'm always trying to teach my students things like how to invest and, how to do things like paper trading and, how to get on some of these apps, before they turn 18 and like how to practice before they are eligible to open up a brokerage account. So if I got the money, if I got 200 grand in my pocket, you know, I'm immediately buying pieces of these companies. Immediately buying pieces of Nvidia. I'm immediately buying pieces of Apple or Microsoft. And then once that money starts to appreciate, then I'll probably take my money and flee to Africa somewhere and chill somewhere with some African honey and live happily ever after and chill on a beach somewhere in the sunset. Because I believe that if that day came where we got reparations, I think a lot of people will go the Marcus Garvey route, and we will take our bus back to Africa. And hopefully, with our newfound wealth, we will build something as close as as a Zamunda or a Wakanda as we possibly can. And I would love to see that day, but
Preach, preach.
it's something that, I don't know if it is if it's even on the government's mind because like if
Oh,
you look at the
absolutely,
history if you
absolutely
look
not.
at the no but if you look at the history of reparations, Holocaust survivors got money. uh I believe in Japan, people who were like in like
The internment camps.
and yeah, they got money. And so like there's a history of people getting money who have been oppressed, and it's like you just conveniently leave black people out.
Well, we're looked at like our people, the people that built the country, were looked at as elements of production, chattel, right? So personal property, elements of production. So
Mhm.
when you're looked at as a key component, as a part to an engine or engine parts, you're not looked at as a operator of that engine, even though
Mhm.
we're that in the same belt. So if we can oppress you, draw all the resources from you, brainwash you, and keep you, and then keep cycling it over generation after generation,
Yeah.
we don't have to pay these people because they've been so oppressed, they don't even have an apparatus to fight and succinct together, to really ask for reparations or feel like it's just one of them situations. It's a lost cause. They've been trying to do it for, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. But like I feel like we should, if we got that kind of money, I was watching something the other day and they were talking about how Jewish communities remain wealthy, right? And they were saying how in a Jewish community, typically what is getting passed down to their children is not anything of uh in terms of like tangible goods that you can just buy and sell. They're passing down stock. They're passing down investments to their children. So they're not giving them,
They're passing down
necklaces.
property.
Right. They're not
Property.
giving away necklaces and fur coats and shoes and stuff, all that stuff that doesn't, hold any value after you buy it. They're giving stuff that appreciates with value over time. And that money is just snowballing into
Well,
their generational wealth.
it's an inheritance culture, and that's
Right.
something that's been taken away,
Mhm.
right? Because you got to think about how many people are centered on even building or who even click. So think about how many of our people have the opportunity to click that benefits box. It's only like $2 to get the extra death benefit or the extra life insurance benefit. That's a quarter of a million or whatever it is, but you pay
Mhm.
$2 or $5 a month for it. And the benefit of that, so if something were to happen to you, a guy calls you home, you leave your family with an estate, and then you also have a set of, instructions and a trustee and a power of attorney that, be able to handle your estate for you.
Mhm.
So it's not, absorbed by the government and just put back on the market. That sort of
Right.
thing. So then that person, that child or that sibling or whoever gets a head start into the future. Not just, I'm just here living comfortably while I'm here. Um, but yeah,
Right. And so like, and with, the, Trump's push against like DEI and affirmative action, which was probably the closest thing that Black people could ever get to reparations in this country. It's a clear indication that, reparations are a pipe dream at this point, well, or at least with this administration. Um, so, if it was up to me, I feel like the least you could do would be student loan forgiveness. If you're going to claim anything in terms of a reparation package, forgive every uh, student loan that a Black person has in this country. If you don't want to just give them money, forgive the debt. So that would be my 2 cents if I was in charge of, a reparations package. But what do you guys think?
Let me just piggyback off of what Ryan or Justin just said before Bobby takes off. When I was I managed call center. This is just for some people that will probably listen to us. In every employee that I hired into a call center, I always encourage them to look at their benefit package, especially their 401k portion of their benefit package, right? And most of these young folks never understood that your 401k package is actually free money, extra to what you're being paid from the company.
You know,
Never
I
do
actually
it.
I actually read somewhere where they said a good majority of 401k money gets left untouched because a lot of people are even aware that they have it.
Yeah, they don't even
Quentin,
understand.
Quint, like Quentin, like
Yeah,
Quentin is an example.
yeah,
I told Quentin to look into his old jobs. I said, Quentin, did you have 401ks with these old jobs? You're like, I don't even know. He ended up finding $20,000
yeah.
in unclaimed 401k money that he had no clue about. And so
Yeah.
I was like,
Hey,
you know, that type of thing, that type of education is what I'm saying is lacking in our community, where it's like a lot of people don't even understand, the benefits that come with their job that they signed up for. A lot of people don't have that awareness.
yeah. Just a quick story though. I always encourage all of the employees, the younger ones, even the folks that would come in, it would be senior type folks, to really take advantage of the 401k program. They really didn't understand that the company, if you contribute a portion of your income, it would be 3 to 5%, whatever it may be, of your salary. They would match that. That's free money. They would leave it on the table because they didn't want to contribute because they needed that money to pay bills with. I understand that. But even 1%, they would match you that 1% or whatever the company's match would be. More folks would leave that money on the table and not invest it. I tell you, it's one of those things where you just can't pass up free money, So if you're out there, look at that 401k package and, take advantage of that free money because believe me, that's how I got into this house.
Mhm.
Anyway, take it off, buddy.
Yeah, that's some good advice. With this question, I took a lot of different angles and thought about a lot of different parts of this question. First thing I think was, let's go back to how much money folks will get. Justin mentioned like 200K. If they got if everybody got 200K, or every black household got say 500K. That I did some research and it's about $10 trillion of a impact to the debt, the national debt, right? To put it in perspective, COVID stimulus was about $5 trillion, right?
That was
And
like about a $1,500 check, right? Something like
to
that.
everybody, to basically everybody, right? And so, and then the Iraq Afghanistan wars, that was like 6.5 trillion. So that's just to kind of put it in perspective, right? And so we, as a country, we've done this for certain certain things that we felt were necessary, right? So if we were to make this necessary, then we could do it. Um, I started thinking, okay, well, what, to go into some of the things that Ryan talked about, why we would do it, right? 250 plus years of slavery, right? Um, we, as generation over generation, we've been excluded from wealth building, right? It doesn't have to do with anything but the fact that Black families have, right, even today, we hold a tenth of the wealth of white families, right? And we have, for the longest time, been disadvantaged when it comes to income, earnings, inheritance. You guys mentioned that earlier, home ownership, education, criminal justice, of course, health outcomes. Right. So a lot of this would be to just try to level the playing field as much as we could. There, okay, so then if we actually did it, there would be a lot of responses from a lot of different places. From we think about the government, um, we think about media, right? If we we think about the media, that the right wing would lose their minds, right? And then we would hear things about reverse racism. We would hear,
It's regular racism now. I'm just saying.
yeah, well, I mean, we would hear things about it being a handout, right? I think on the left. I don't wouldn't anticipate that there would be 100% on the left side either, right? I think that there would be people who would be very cautious and concerned about how this would impact their political careers and not provide full support. So there would be mixed support on the left side. Um, I think that in Black media, it would, of course, be well received. I think that would flourish. Um, but it wouldn't be as easy as accepting a check, right? Is my point. Um, the other thing too is that public perception, right? On one side, there would be a lot of happiness and joy from our community. On other sides, there might be a lot of resentment, right? Because there will be conversations about, well, you guys didn't experience slavery, right? That's your ancestors. And there are plenty of people who are not Black out here struggling too, right? What about the poor? What about this and that, right? So fair and legitimate arguments, right? Arguments for other groups of people to also get money. I don't think that they're legitimate, in my opinion, legitimate arguments to prevent us from getting um, reparations, though. I think as far as like what it is that we can do with the money, right? I wouldn't want, so I trust that um, our people are intelligent enough. We have um, critical thinking skills and foresight enough to be able to handle cash money in our hands and decide for ourselves what it is that we will do with it. And I think you guys mentioned earlier that yeah, there will be some people that will blow it just like anybody, right? I mean, there are some people who will decide that it's let's go ahead and party and blow this money. I ain't never had 200,000, $300,000 in my life, and I'm about to spend it on stuff that's it's going to lose its value the minute that you drive it off the lot. Okay, well, but I think there are other people who are going to take it seriously and say, okay, this is the seed for my family and for the generations to come in my family. I'm going to take it serious. I'm going to think about things like what Daddy mentioned, right? He mentioned land and housing, right? We buy and protect black neighborhoods, fix them up, right? Make them affordable, create trust and prevent gentrification over time, right? That's something that we could do. Finance, Justin mentioned teaching financial literacy, right? Yeah, we that's not something that we learn in school, black, white, whoever it is. We don't learn that stuff in school, and we should, right? And I think that this could be an opportunity, and let me be clear, right? We don't need to wait on reparations to teach our kids financial literacy, right? So I'm gonna have those conversations with Layla coming up here pretty soon. But I think that's something that we could use the money as a whole on are things like starting black-owned banks and
Okay.
credit unions, right?
I think
Teaching,
those are big. That's
you
big.
know,
That's big.
Well,
That should be a big
let
focus.
me just pipe in with you on that, where black-owned banks in Milwaukee, one of the first was North Milwaukee State Bank, and your mama worked there.
hmm
North Milwaukee State Bank was the first black bank, I believe, in Milwaukee, and then Legacy Bank took over the branch that I managed in Milwaukee. And it was a minority owned, woman run, black woman owned bank. And Shirley Lanier, I'm throwing some names out here. Shirley Lanier, who was Bob Lanier's wife,
the
Milwaukee
basketball
Bucks.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Purchased that location where I was at, turned that bank into one of the, I think, best black owned banks that service the neighborhood. Because if you remember, um, 20th and North Avenue in Milwaukee was dead center in the neighborhood, dead center in the hood, and they took in homeowner loans, all kinds of investments, home improvement loans, bank accounts, you name it, to service the black neighborhood. That's what their aim was to do. And they did a hell of a job doing it. So go ahead,
No,
Doc.
absolutely. And I think that would allow people to come into banks and not expect loans as a handout, right? You need to qualify for the loan just like any other bank. But people can go in there and feel like they have a chance, they have a fighting shot at getting loans to start businesses and whatever else it may end up being, right? We can create trust funds for our black kids, right? I think the other areas, I got a few more. Education, right? In addition to teaching people financial literacy, we can invest in private black schools, right? HBCUs. We can to Justin's earlier point, start to eliminate some of this student debt, so that people don't feel like they're handcuffed and they can actually do something, and and move better with paycheck to paycheck, right? Then their entire check is not just going straight to school. School, my opinion, should be free anyway, right?
Oh
No
yeah.
matter where, like, why are we forcing folks to pay, 100K, 200K a year to go to these schools and
And
have,
healthcare.
and yeah, and health.
Canada is doing it.
It can be
Yeah.
done, right? We've seen it done before, right? I think we can provide scholarships, right, to kids, not only just to go to the big universities like we went to, right? That's a route, but another route is going to trade schools and things like that. Provide scholarships for kids to go to these schools, and then that will. These are ways to invest in our future, right? To help build that eventual Black Wall Street that Ryan was talking about earlier, right?
And
Um,
I'll add to that, uh venture capitalist firms, black owned venture capitalist firms.
well,
People giving black people who have ideas to start up businesses, that seed money. Because like who knows like what could have happened if, that guy who was a the theoretical black Mark Zuckerberg could have accomplished if he had the seed money and the venture capitalist firm backing him,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and if he
So
was pitching to somebody who looked like him, right?
exactly.
Sometimes he might not even that person might not even feel like they had an opportunity, or they would even have a shot to pitch the idea, um, in a normal situation, right? In
Mhm.
Silicon Valley, because there's not a whole lot of folks that would look like him and make him feel comfortable to even share the idea,
Mhm.
like him or her, right? Um, few more areas, right? Health and wellness. Um, so Justin, you just mentioned healthcare. What I have never seen before, and maybe this stuff exists in Atlanta. I mean, I've just visited there. I don't know, but a black-owned hospital, a black-owned clinic.
Well, they
Black,
got some. Jordan owns some in Charlotte. He's
okay, there you go.
he's
So
like the only one. I think he's the only one that owns a couple clinics. He has like four.
he's doing that, right? So if we had more, right? If we had black-owned mental health centers, stuff like that, right? Things to health, to fund maternal health, and to normalize therapy and healing places, and helping folks with chronic illnesses and chronic diseases and chronic addictions, right? These are things that maybe we on the surface, it might not necessarily seem like it's something that would build black wealth, but if we're keeping our folks from relapsing, right, if that's an issue for them, and keeping them off of the streets and doing things that are productive and building themselves, then eventually over time that will cause us to build the wealth that we're seeking. And it's not to be, in my opinion, it's not to be separate from white America or any other part of America. Is so that we can all be at that same level and have the same opportunities and grow in the same type of way. Last couple of things, last areas that I'm thinking of course, we would need to do something with the justice system. I don't know
Mhm.
how. Um,
More black police officers.
Black
Like
police officers, to make it feel
mhm.
comfortable, like that is not that they're keeping us safe and not being not the ones that we need to fight and
Mhm.
stay safe from, right? They're
Yeah.
supposed to be protecting us.
Yeah.
More
You
black
know what
lawyers, more
the
black
whole
judges.
the whole reasoning behind policing should be neighborhood policing. Back in the day when you had neighborhood cops, literally um, policing the neighborhood, living in the neighborhood, um, you know, actually knowing their neighbors. When I grew up, man, on 26th Street, we had two cops right on the same block. Uh, and we knew them. You know, Lonnie Ward was one, and I can't think of the other guy's name. But these guys were in the neighborhood. They knew all the neighbors. There was virtually no crime in that neighborhood.
Mhm.
That's kind of crazy, you know, but we need to get back to something like that. Neighborhood policing is so important because it deters a lot of things. You know, these guys de-escalate things just by talking to people,
Yeah,
you
if
know?
you're part of the neighborhood and people can see that they have a foothold, they're like, "Hey, these folks are ingratiated into the what's
Yeah.
happening in the community. We ain't
Yeah.
gonna people over here."
Mhm.
That's
So
tough.
two more real quick things. One is you guys know like what lobbyists do in
Oh
Oh, yeah.
yes. That's a big one. That's a big one for having that in place for our people. Man,
Yeah. They got to
right.
talk up for us.
yeah.
Exactly. So what I was thinking is, we can use this money in such a way that some of the money in such a way where we help to grow more black politicians and legislators. Forget the politics. I shouldn't have said politicians, right? It ain't about politics.
Lawmakers.
Lawmakers, right? Folks that are actually making laws, right? Legislating. So we push more, build more of them up, and then also have lobbyists like in their ears all the time, trying to promote things that will help us as we move forward, and and suggest things that they should fight for in Congress, right? So that's one area, the last area that I was thinking about as far as the justice system goes. Last point that I wanted to make is, and this is the case, I don't know if it's as big of something that we want to get better in other places, but in California and in some other areas, we have homelessness, right? And what I would love is for us to do something that would help to solve that problem in a real way, right? Throwing money
More
at
rehab centers.
rehab, exactly. So it's not about like trying to push people off of the streets and take, and remove tent cities and stuff like that, because people need somewhere to lay their head. They're going to find somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? There have to be programs that come around and help them from getting back on the streets and getting homes that they can call their own, getting them a place, or getting them to a place where they can actually go and get a job and and build things for themselves, right? Help rehab them if they're on drugs or whatever it may be, right? So
Training programs. You know,
exactly. And
have to
so
have a training.
the training. So yeah, if we were to use the money in a dedicated way, and it's not just a one-time thing on some state's budget, and we send the money one year and then it's not in the budget the next year, right? We do it until it's fixed, until there is no homelessness. I don't think that that's a problem that is impossible to solve. I think that there's not enough people with enough empathy and determination to solve it, right? And so I would hope that our people, if we were to get, this money, would be concerned for folks, not just folks that look like us, but people out there that are struggling, and use some of this money for some good.
Yeah. You know, looking at that though, this homeless problem is everywhere. It's here in Houston. I know it's in California. When I was in San Francisco, it was there. And I've never seen it that bad when I was in San Francisco. But when I got here, you know, the weather is 80 degrees every day of the year. Folks living under viaducts under the highway is a norm. And in order to resolve that problem, you know what they did here? And Ryan can attest to this because we used to go to baseball games. We were going to the baseball games, and right around the old Minute Maid Park, there was a stretch of land there before you hit the highway. There was nothing but homeless tents and the whole 9 yards. in order to get the homeless off of those out of that property. I don't know if it was, I don't know if I know it was government, but they paved the area, converted it into a parking lot, and gated it. And so it displaced those people throughout the city. Now, instead of being in that one area where they were, they scattered them all around and created kind of a atmosphere of nuisance because now instead of having them in one spot, they're all over. And it created a big problem. There was no program to address them after they were displaced. There was no food program to address them after they were displaced. Nothing. They just displaced them and literally took all of the tents and everything that was left behind and threw it in the garbage. So, that money, I mean, that's an ongoing issue that can be resolved, but it's going to take a long time to resolve it. And that comes through, I think, ongoing budgets, understanding, keeping the resources alive rather than cutting them. Because the generation that's homeless now, I'm sure there's kids behind them that will be homeless, you know? So it's a generational thing. So,
Yeah, and I love that idea of, you know, getting that money, if we got that money, supercharging an effort for philanthropy, because I do feel like some people will be, like Bobby said, some people will be selfish with that money, but like philanthropy, I feel like uh is a very necessary route because I feel like some of the richest people, on this planet are not the biggest what's the word I'm looking, uh,
philanthropy.
Yeah.
philanthropists. Yeah. I'm like, because like if I had Elon Musk money, you know,
Oh
I don't
man.
really see, I don't really hear about him doing too much philanthropy. But if I had 200 grand in my pocket, I'm for sure donating some of it to somebody to help them out.
Well,
Um, but
what's his name from Microsoft, Bill Gates.
oh
He's
yeah,
a philanthropist, and I give him credit because he's in Africa digging wells, trying to
Yeah.
get folks fresh water,
Mhm.
medicines, things like that. So he's doing great. But someone even like, I'm not going to name names, but a lot of folks that have that kind of money that are billionaires, millionaires, I don't see them giving back, and I don't see a lot of the well-to-do folk, just well-to-do, not a lot of money giving back. You know, a lot of the athletes I know give back. A lot of them here in Houston give back. I see that all the time. When they bring along kids to give back to the community. But a lot more of that could be done, I'm sure.
But it's a movie that gave the blueprint, and I like everything that Bobby said. But it's a movie called The Banker. It was one of my favorite movies. It was on Apple TV, and I think it was in the 50s or the 60s, where Anthony Mackie played this
Oh
character.
yeah.
Okay, and so this speaks directly to what I do because he actually did what I dream of doing. He went beyond what I wanted to do, and I think he did it in the 60s. And it's a sad story because they put him in jail for doing something that should have was legal, but because he was black, they didn't know it was the Marcus Garvey effect. When Marcus Garvey was trying to get the cruise ships and stuff, and he did it legally to open commerce between Africa and the States, they tried to, off him, and then they exiled him. But in this movie, it was this guy who was a real estate entrepreneur, and so he did all the stuff that I do, right? Valuing land. He used to sit outside of a bank window that was like a real estate or a bank, when they talked about capital and then the points on capital and how to assess land and how to assess property. And he learned how to do that. So he got to start understanding numbers and understanding valuations, appraisals, just the finance behind real estate, right? Everything. I was like, man, this is what I do for a living. This is how I've been able to be successful in my life. But he went a step further. So then he got what another successful real estate entrepreneur, Sam Jackson, played, but he was already made. Sam Jackson was owning like commercial buildings, right? Commercial buildings. And it was a crazy thing that he was like, huh. Anthony Mackie's character went from like I think he was like flipping houses. He was like doing it was kind of small time, bundling these houses and getting like fourplexes, and then he was like trying to level up and he was like, I want to like get with this guy. He saw that Sam Jackson like owned these commercial buildings downtown, and he had all of his stuff like in verticals. Because what he wanted to do, Anthony Mackie said, he was like, man, I not only want to own the real estate, I want to own the title company. I don't even want to own the title company. I want to own the realtors. I don't only want to own the realtors, I want to own the bank, like the building that they did it. Him and Sam Jackson partnered, and so they were owning all like everything in this real estate tunnel. The appraisers, the realtors, the title companies. So when they would write deals, and then he was like, you know what? I want the bank that we operate in to be in our building. So then if they refuse to write us a deal, we can evict them. So so he got the bank to come in. He actually bought the bank he bought the building that the bank was in, kind of forced their hand. So then they would just write them deals, right? And this is one of the big banks. And it was just ingenious. I'm like, man, this guy's doing this in the 60s. Oh, these two guys are doing it. It was just ingenious. Then he said he went a step further. He was like, you know what? We'll have them under our umbrella. We'll go a step further. I'm going to use someone that doesn't look like us to be our front man to go and actually buy a bank. Went and bought a bank, got the deposit. And so now he's lending, and his principal customers are African Americans. Now, so he's eliminating the whole idea of redlining, but his whole entire business is vertical. And he went a step further. He started writing insurance policies. So you could go in there and you can get a house, an appraisal, you can get a deposit, you can get a loan for a house, a car, you can get an insurance policy, renter's policy, flood policy, life insurance, whole life insurance policy. And guess what? Their organization owned it. They owned the businesses that was in it. They owned the building, and then they owned skyscrapers. It was crazy. Government came in, somehow figured like, nah, y'all brothers can't be, no, and then figured out a way to put him in jail, right? And I think when he got out, he figured out a way to still operate and be. But the point of what I'm trying to make is when you like that's what I want to do. That sort of you own all of the verticals, and not only do you own all of the verticals, the people within the diaspora, the people that look like you are within all of that, and you have it at the primary point. If you can control the capital, you can solve all the problems. So if you can control the bank and you can operate from inside of the money portion, up, out, all the way down, you can do so many different things because the bank is a central place. You can form a syndicate, stocks, bonds, options, loans, deposits, all these different things. And then you own the ground, the land that it sits on, the air rights in the building that's on, and you multiply that effect to the community, and you start seeing places that resemble you. It's like, it's not uncommon. When I was in New York, it was a whole wing of downtown New York that was Chinatown or Little Italy. So how come we don't have that? Where we have our own moats, even in Houston, we have our own moats. And you have black shoe stores, black hair stores that are not operated by African people. You see what I'm saying? So you have all of this. There's like hip. But we don't own it. So if we had a place where we controlled the capital, land, labor, and management. Those are the three keys of economic drivers: land, labor, management. If we have that, we'll be good. And then we'll be able to place that and have those verticals in every different industry, like you were saying, Bobby. And you're controlling those industries, but then you have those central points. because it's a real wealthy family. I forget the name of it. It's a really really wealthy family that it's a really wealthy family that goes back generations, hundreds of years, and their whole thing was they did everything by creating banks. Look them up. It's a very very wealthy Jewish family that created in the Middle East and then in Europe, one group would set up a bank, and then they would do all of these different things, create verticals out. Then that once they get a foothold, they'd create another bank in a different city, then create another bank in a different city, then create another bank in a different city, and all of that spider web effect, it just multiplied itself. It's amazing, and so they've been at it for hundreds of years,
It's
still
possible.
still here today. And I mean, I do business with some of them. They have
What's the,
a real famous last name.
what's the name of that movie?
The name of the movie is called The Banker. So
Yeah,
The
it's a
Banker with
series.
Anthony
I
Mackie.
believe it's a series.
No, it's a movie. It's an Apple movie.
Movie I saw some of it.
Yeah, it's an Apple movie. So look at that.
Yeah.
Like I encourage, and that's something that I want to look at again. That's something that I think us as black men should look at. But I mean, anyone who watches this, look at that movie, and it's very inspirational. It's like that was my dream. Because even like it's one thing to be able to control, like let's just say invest, like I want to invest in this, I want to do it. But if you're the primary point for where the finances come and they go, and you can control that, you know.
Yeah. No,
So that's my thing. I think that's awesome if that could happen for sure.
no, for sure.
Mhm.
Daddy, Justin, you guys have any final thoughts?
Well, my final thought would be like we've discussed some very serious things about what we would do with the money. Me personally, like I said before, I would invest it. I would buy up a bunch of these, um, buy up a bunch of these companies or pieces of these companies, so that I had major stock in these companies, you know, invest in financial literacy, educate, because I'm on the front lines of that as a teacher. I would want to educate young black kids on how to trade, on how to invest, how to build stock, and how to multiply your money. Um, and I would want, like I said, I would want that money to also go to philanthropy. But since let's shift to a less serious note. What would be your guilty pleasure purchase if you were to get just 200K, a 200K check? Like, what would be that guilty pleasure purchase? Be like, you know what? I'm gonna take about 10K and just blow it on something crazy. What would that purchase be?
Hmm.
I know exactly what I would do.
All right, go
What
first
would
because I
you?
got to think about that.
I
Yeah,
think I think I would get one of those. You ever see that little private jet commercial? He said, "Oh, for only $10,000, you could get you a private jet and a and a limousine driver. It can take you." I think I would want to give me like a private G7 or whatever it is, and I would want to fly. Um, I would like probably want to fly to like the Maldives or to like the Seychelles in Africa, and sit like like one of those tiki huts that's like on the water. I would want to like and do nothing for like a half a year. Like so that'd be if I could just I mean I don't know how much that would cost, but not 10 grand. It would probably have to be like 60,000 or something like that. But like let's just say if I could take 6 months, I would, take a private, private plane. I would fly to one of the world's most beautiful, clear waters, beach, house on the wall, house over the water, like on a pier. Eat nothing but lobster and steak and the best fruits and vegetables and drink the best wine and champagne with the most gorgeous African sister there is and be there for half a year and do absolutely nothing but look at the palm trees, the water, drink coconut juice out of a coconut. Like kind of like when we was in Punta Cana and we were on the beach, Bobby, and I was reminiscing about life. I didn't want to leave, and you told me, you said, Ryan, we got to go home. You remember when you told me that? He's like, we don't have to go. I was like, do we? I started tearing up. I got emotional for real. Bobby had to kind of pull me out the sand. I'm like, man, I would do that, but it would be
Uh,
Probably
six.
yanking
It
out.
would be 6 months. So that would be my guilty pleasure. And if you would run my bill up, it'll be nothing but pineapple, watermelon, grapes. Like, why? Why does he have $10,000 worth of charges for fresh fruits? Um,
Did you
you know,
look, pineapples, uh, watermelons, um,
Justin's favorite.
condoms.
absolutely. I don't know.
Hey,
You know,
bro, I'm just saying.
but yeah, that would be. I mean, because I think for me, like, one thing, I'll say this: I've been blessed to be able to reach, even though a lot of the times I don't. It's sometimes I don't feel it. I'm reminded of how successful I am and how blessed I am. Right. I think we've all reached a really high level of success, even though the pressure of being a part of the diaspora, being a black man, being African American has pressed us down. We've had to deal with things systematically that I think other cultures just don't have to. Um, and this, and from a serious, bringing the serious back to a light note, I think for me, I've always felt pressed down in order for me to maintain a level of, for my child, for her not to have to want for anything. I have to work really hard, right? I don't get a lot of sleep. I do a lot of things. I sacrifice a lot of things. I take care of not only my house, but another household, right? Other households that people depend on me, and I think a lot of it gets lost. And once a year, maybe me and Bobby are able to maybe go to Vegas and kind of hang out or have a little man trip here and there for 3 days. I think for me, like I would really. That would be so nice to just not have to do anything and just not have to worry about discrimination, prejudice, not have to worry about stress, right? Not have to worry about money. Just I can sit back and be like, is it red strawberries or red apples or red raspberry or bananas, or water, like, or kiwi. Like, that's the point. Like, I want that to be my decision making. Okay, like, what kind? What?
I would ring the little bell.
Yeah,
Yeah. Boy, probably ate a fruit salad today. You got
yeah, yeah. We'll do
fruit.
the same thing, but with a side of scrambled eggs. Today.
Ah, here we go. Daddy, Daddy, what is it?
You know how I be
So
eating,
my,
Bobby. You know how I be eating in Vegas. That's how I be
oh
eating in
Lord.
Vegas.
That's how that's how you be
You,
acting.
okay. You know
Daddy,
what I would do?
yeah.
I think, to be selfish,
You go
if
buy a
if
movie
I
theater.
had that money, I'd be giving somebody some money. I'd have to hand back to somebody, because coming up, man, I owe so many people, but I'd be looking at, helping somebody with some money, whether it be some folk that I could just, give some seed money to, help them do something, that's where I see myself if I had, let's say, $20,000 out of that reparations, to spend on myself. I'd probably do it like that. But I'd probably do something like I'd totally tech this house out where, you walk in every room, there's a big screen TV, all the latest appliances and stuff like that, and then I'd probably make a Dave Chappelle commercial. Rich, I don't want to say the B word. I'm rich, you know. I'd make a Dave Chappelle commercial. But I think, me and my personality, you guys know I'm a homebody. I love, movies and stuff like that. So I'd probably tech the house out and kind of hang out and do stuff like that. But, I always say that money's nothing but a tool. It's nothing but a tool, man. You go into my garage, I got plenty of them, plenty of tools to do all kind of stuff with. Money is just another tool in my toolbox to either fix something, create something, do something. And I've had a lot of it in my lifetime, and I've had little in my lifetime, and I've done a lot with a little, you know. And so money doesn't stress me, to a point where I'm always looking to pay a bill or anything like that. I'm more like my father. They're not gonna come and put me in debtor's jail for no amount of money that I owe them. They're just not gonna do it, and I don't stress about money. It's just another tool that I use to do what I gotta do, you know. And like I said, I've done a lot with a little, and I think that's contributed somewhat to my skill set, around here and as far as creating things and doing things and fixing things and all that stuff. Because when I didn't have any money, man, and the water heater went out, or the air conditioner system went out, or the electrical, something went out, I had to fix it. So that's my take.
So
And
you
none
wouldn't
of
buy
us can
you wouldn't
fix
buy
it
him.
either. We the only
Huh?
one that know how to fix it.
Oh,
Yeah.
We, none of us know how to do it.
I know how to pick the phone up and call. I mean,
Oh, daddy.
I got a job with Ryan tomorrow.
yeah,
That's one thing
I know how to call.
that's one thing I'm ashamed that none of us really learned. We never really picked up Daddy's like
I'm a
handyman
little,
skills.
I'm a little bit handy though. I'm not like totally helpless. Tell him, Daddy,
I
I got
mean,
tools at home. I can get a few things done. A little
like
bit,
I'm
you know.
okay. I'm okay with like my car, like changing a tire, jumping, the battery or whatever. But other than that, I'm not. Daddy is
No,
Mr. Handyman, and I can't do none of that
and
stuff.
it's all about time efficiency for me. Like if it's something that I can call somebody, like I can give somebody some money to do quick, I'll knock it out. I'm surprised Daddy wouldn't buy a movie theater. I just was thinking.
I already got one.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
cool.
interesting.
Oh, pardon me.
No, but nah, no. I want to sit in my theater and watch my movies, which I
Mhm.
have a bunch right here that I can share with you. But it's just a tool, man. That's all it
Mhm.
is. It's a tool. But you know, man, we were some of the best blacksmiths. You talking about black folk? We were some of the best blacksmiths, some of the best home builders. We built this country. We built this country. Man, we can put electrical in almost anything, plumbing in almost anything. Digging wells and all that stuff. We did all that stuff, you know. So, I mean, it's one of the things we had to do.
Mhm.
That's true. That's
What
true.
about you, Boo?
Well, I got a number of things that I'm gonna do. It's gonna take me a little bit more than 10K probably, but
Yep.
Some
my
of that reparation money.
I know, yeah, I do got some fun things that I want to do. First thing is I'm gonna take my kiddo to a trip to Japan. She's told me that she wanted to ever since she started learning about Japan in school and she did a project on it. She wanted to visit. So we're gonna go and visit Japan and go and see where they make Nintendo and all this other stuff, right? That's one of the things I'm gonna do.
That's cool.
For me, I want to see, we had, when we were younger, one of our cousins played in the league, right? And I never got to go to the Super Bowl. And football is my favorite sport. I wanted to play all of that. So I'm gonna get some Super Bowl tickets, right? That's one of the things. Wait, you been already?
Oh, yeah.
No, but I ain't never been to the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna go to the Super Bowl. I'm going to the NBA Finals.
I
I'm
like
going
that.
to
I like that.
the World Series,
I'm feeling
all
that.
the games.
I'm feeling
I'm
all that.
yeah, I'm
What's up?
going.
Staying
I'm
in the nicest
going.
hotels.
Yeah, I'm going to the Olympics. Right? And the
Mhm.
Olympics in a few years is gonna be out here by me, right in LA. I
Yeah.
mean, I ain't waiting for no reparations. I'm gonna figure out how I can get there anyway. But those are the things that I think I'm gonna spend some money on. Just like for me, even in normal life, um, outside of this question, I consider things that matter to me are experiences more than things, right? So that's where I'm gonna go and try to make some memories. So those are some of the things that I'll probably do with my little fun money piece. What about you, Justin?
So with me, I am a still an avid lover of video games. So I would probably build an arcade, a movie theater arcade. Can you imagine playing PS5 in a movie theater arcade type of situation?
That's interesting.
Like, so like I would probably do something
Well,
like that.
yeah, I
Like,
mean, it's
He
not like,
does it every day.
yeah, I'm
I
just thinking
mean,
to myself, I'm
no,
like, I remember when I
I'm
used to
talking
come over
about, I'm
there,
talking
or when I
about
was there, I would play. It kind of felt the same way.
No, I'm talking about like IMAX level theater,
Oh,
like video game type of deal. Like I'm talking about having like a Dave and Buster's in my house or something. Like I want something crazy like that to where it's like, one thing that I thought was like really dope that that I saw the other day was this guy, he owns this in here in Houston. I want to go check it out. It's a video game lounge, where it's like a bar where you can eat and drink, but there's like it's a sim racer. It's called Velocity, where like you have like these sim racing or these simulations like where you're racing F1 cars. And I was like, that would be something so dope that I would love to have built in my house if I could, where I'm like
I
in the
actually
back
was thinking
room,
about going
like
there
doing something
tomorrow.
like that.
I was thinking about
Yeah.
going there tomorrow.
And so like something like that, like where I could have like a little mini arcade like somewhere built in my house, like I would definitely invest money into that if I could. Um and yeah, so that would be like my little splurge money, and like definitely like try to take a trip somewhere out of the country since I'm probably the only person here that hasn't been out the country. So
Really?
yeah, I would yeah. I
It's time to
mean,
get your passport stamped, Justin.
I
Give
know.
me the cash.
So
Just give me the
so
cash.
I mean, so like somewhere exotic where I can see some bronze some brown skin honeys with the hair touching down their back, some Moana type honeys. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
that's my my dream right there.
Way,
Okay.
was the
It was a
music.
great discussion, guys. Look, Ryan,
Yeah.
Ryan, you gonna sing us out? What you
We use everything we
sing us
make.
out?
It's all I need, Moana.
All right,
Yes,
Mal.
sir.
Justin looked like he could be from the island somewhere, Samoa, or Samoa, or Dominican.
All right.
Daddy looked like he could be from Cuban, and I don't know. Bobby looked like he from,
I am from Cuba.
yeah,
It's
and
not pronounced Cuba, it's Cuba.
Cuba, and then
Cuba.
Bobby. I mean, they got the black Mexicans on Baja California. The little strip where you not too far. I'm just
I
saying,
mean,
you kind you giving me that that vibe. So
but
Ryan,
Ryan,
you want to
Ryan
say
always, Ryan always likes to think of himself as Prince Akeem, but I get a Prince Jafar from where was Jafar from?
it's
Like
for Saudi
Aladdin and all them
Arabia.
dude. Yeah, you give me that type
Oh,
of vibe. Like that's what
Jafar.
you
I'm
give me Prince Jafar vibe, like the bad prince vibe. Like yeah,
Oh, I guess that's
he's
good
that
coming
guy.
from Prince Ali over there. Prince Ali, I'll give me
okay,
out of
this
your
is
wild war.
let's wrap it up. Please subscribe.
Over
Please
there.
subscribe, like, share, comment. And one thing that I would love to hear is hear what you guys think about what we said and ideas maybe that you would have, and if you got reparations, what would you do with it? What are some serious things that you would do? What are some fun things that you would do with it? And do you think that is it possible in our lifetime to ever see that day come, or not? So
Hopefully.
yeah, thanks everybody. Appreciate
All
it.
All
right.
right.
Good
See ya.
night. Peace and love.